everyone, Eloise here today for lawnfawn and welcome back to the channel. Today I have a pull tab slider card to share with you all using the RAWRSOME stamp set as my focal point. Also, of course, using the pull tab slider add-on set that is supposed to coordinate with Let's Toast, but you can use it for honestly any type of stamp set. And I'm going to be using Critters in the Jungle just for a few leaves and plants and things, and also Ahoy Matey for the palm tree. And lastly, I'm using Grassy Hillside borders just to create a little grassy panel. So I'm going to start off with ink blending my sunset background. So I pulled out 5 colours of Distress Oxide inks, 2 reds and orange and 2 yellows, and I'm just ink blending these colours onto some watercolour cardstock. I started off with Candied Apple, I then moved on to Abandoned Coral, now I just used Spice Marmalade. Now I'm using Fossilized Amber and finishing off with Scattered Straw at the very top. Once I finished ink blending this panel, I flicked on some water, picked it up with a paper towel and dried it off with a heat tool. Now moving on to my little green panel, so I'm using peeled paint and twisted citron for this, and then I just went ahead and ran that through a die cutting machine using the Grassy Hillside borders. I wanted it to be very small at the bottom of the sunset panel, so I just needed to ink blend a little bit onto this piece here. Once I've gone ahead and cut that out, I am going to adhere these two together just using some adhesive, and I'm going to cut off the excess. So now that all of my pieces are ready to go for my background, it's time to organize the pieces for the interactive portion. So I have all of the pieces here from the pull tab slider add-on die, minus 1 piece, and I'm just going to cut 3 of these pieces just out of some plain white cardstock. So I'm using this larger piece here. This is going to be for the back of the slider mechanism, and I'm going to cut that out of white. I'm also going to cut out of white this little piece that helps the slider from moving around, and also the little pull tab piece at the very top of your card. Well, once I stamped all of those, I also stamped the rest of my images like the palm tree and the leaves and the plants and things. And now I'm going to start Copic colouring. So I'm starting off with the green areas, and I'm using G28, YG67, YG25 and YG21. I did switch up my green colour combo here since I wanted it to be a lot darker, since I thought this fit what the environment sort of would have looked like. So I'm just going ahead and colouring all of those in, and then moving on to some browns for the tree trunks and also the bottom half of the volcano as well. So I'm using some E40s for that. I'm using E47, E44, E43 and E42. One of my favourite brown combinations. I love these E40 markers. They're just the perfect shade of brown. So I'm just going through and colouring all of those. I also did colour the extra tree that I had off camera as well, since I do have another panel to the side just for some extra plants and stuff. So now I'm colouring in the lava. So I'm using R89, R27, R24 and R14, and I'm just colouring the top of the volcano and then these 3 little like lava pieces that are splitting out from the top. I'm then colouring in my dinosaurs now. So I'm starting off with a purple dinosaur. I'm making these probably very unrealistic, but I just thought it was cute, and I had seen a lot of inspiration using these sorts of colours online. I'm using BV08, BV04, BV02 and BV01. And then I'm just colouring in the top of the dinosaur with a few lighter shades as well. Now I'm colouring a hot pink dinosaur, so I'm using RV29, RV25, RV23 and RV21 just for the main part of the dinosaur. And then again, like I did on the previous dinosaur, I'm colouring in the little spikes on his back and his spots with a few lighter shades as well, just to create a little bit of contrast between the two. I'm colouring in this little flying dinosaur orange, so I'm using YR18, YR12, YR02 and YR00. And then because I didn't really have any lighter orange shades, I am going to use some more yellow shades for the inside of his wings as well. Even though these are white R's, so they're sort of orangey, they're a little bit more yellow toned. And now I'm colouring in the last dinosaur blue, so I decided to pull out B97, B95, B93 and B91. And again, I didn't really have any lighter blue shades in this sort of tone, so I just coloured in the spots on his back just using B99 just to create them a little bit darker. And then I also just quickly coloured the egg as well. So now that all of my pieces are coloured and I cut them all out, I'm just going to quickly sort of arrange a scene. This isn't exactly going to be a final placement for all of these images, but I really just wanted to place down that volcano in the center just to make sure that that is exactly where I wanted it to be placed, so I can die cut the little thin slider piece that I need to create the interactive portion. I also went ahead and die cut that little pull tab piece just from the top of the cardstock panel as well. So I went ahead and marked the top of the volcano just with a pencil, and then I pulled out the this opening piece here that came in the same die set, and I'm just going to line it up in the center where the pencil line is as well, just lining up the top of the die with a pencil line just so it lines up correctly. I'm then going to adhere it down with some washi tape. I highly recommend adhering this down with some really low tack tape because mine ended up ripping, which it wasn't a problem since it's going to be covered up, but it's just something to keep in mind. Now to actually create the little slider mechanism, I have this white piece that I cut out earlier, and I'm just folding it up into the position that it needs to be. I'm then going to thread it through the back side of this cardstock panel, just through the little hole, and then fold them back over. And this is what's going to create the slider piece. So this is a really cool and easy way to do it. I'm so glad that it was super simple to create. Lawnfawn does that so well. And I'm actually going to create the little lava like splitting out from the top as the pull tab piece. So obviously I need to create this to be a lot skinnier since the piece that I'm pulling up is quite small. So I just marked where the widest part of that lub is with some pencil marks and just cut it off with some scissors. This is still going to work absolutely perfectly as long as they're still wide enough for some places to be adhered. But I'm just going to thread that back through, and you can see here that it's still going to work. It all fits through. It's just a lot skinnier, so you're not going to see this big white piece behind the lava. So now there's this other little piece that's really cool that Lawnfawn included in this die, which I thought was really fun. This is the first time I've used this die, so it's all new to me and I'm just really excited. And this is going to help that slider piece, when you pull it up, stay in place. So I just added adhesive onto the back in that middle section, and I'm just going to adhere that down underneath this slider piece just right in place. I'm going to stick that down, add adhesive on the inside of that small flap and fold it over, so then you can see here when you pull it up and down that it's not going to sway from side to side, and it just makes it a lot easier so you don't have to add any foam tape or anything like that. So now I just went ahead and added a little bit of 1/8 of an inch adhesive onto that pull tab slider panel and adhered the lava on top, and you can see here it still works perfectly. It moves really well and freely, which is super awesome. I'm then just adding a little bit of foam tape to each side of the volcano and adhering that over the top into place, and it just works out really perfectly. It's super fun and cute. So as you can see, when I pull up this pull tab slider piece, you see all of the bottom of the like mechanism piece, which I didn't want that, and because my image is so small, that's why it happened. So what I did is I just pulled it up where it needs to be so you don't see any more of that white, and I just created a simple little stopper. I just cut a thin strip of cardstock, added adhesive onto it, and I'm just placing it on the back side underneath that pull tab mechanism. So you can see here when you pull up, it's going to stop it and it's not going to come up any further, which I thought was super fun, and it was a really easy fix. I then am decorating the top of the pull tab piece now. So when I die cut it, I got this little yellow piece that was spare, so I decided to add that onto the top of the pull tab piece. I also cut off the excess so it wasn't too long. And now I'm adding adhesive onto the last white die cut piece here that I cut earlier, and I just folded it in half, added a little bit of adhesive on the back, and I'm just going to adhere this onto the top of the pull tab piece. So you can see that the yellow will still show through, which I think is just kind of nice and seamless. So you can see here that it works perfectly. It looks super cute. I really love this die. I can't believe it's taken me this long to create a card like this. So anyways, now I'm going to add adhesive onto the backs of all of my images and adhere them all in place. So you can see that is a little bit similar to the layout that I quickly did earlier, but it is a little bit different. So I did add a lot more greenery and things around, which was really nice. It created a more full look, which is definitely something I think I'm quite good at, is just adding a little bit too much images around, but I do think it looks really nice and cute. So I'm just going through and adding adhesive onto the backs of all of these pieces and just adhering them down into place, making sure to cover up all the mistakes that I made before with ripping the cardstock and things. And then I just went ahead and adhered a few more pieces down. I do make this a little bit more full later on just because I had quite a bit of greenery left over. So it's time to assemble my card together. So I just have this piece of wood grain cardstock. It's this dark brown color, so I just cut that down to a card base size. I added a double layer of foam tape onto the back of my panel just to make sure that I had enough room to get my finger to pull the pull tab piece. So that's why I did 2 layers there. And I just adhered onto the center of the cardstock, or the card base rather, just so I could still have all of that overhang from all of the greenery and things. So there you can see I just used some liquid glue and adhered a few more leaves behind some of the other images as well, just to create that more full look that I really love. Now it's time to work on my sentiment. So I just have the Your Rawsome sentiment. I just think that's the cutest sentiment ever, and I'm just going to white heat emboss this on a black strip of cardstock. So I just cut down a thin strip, coated it with a little bit of anti-static tool. Then I'm using some clear ink and just using some white embossing powder and heat setting that. Once that embossing powder is all set, I just went ahead and took my scissors and cut the left-hand side at a little bit of an angle. Then I added some foam tape onto the back and adhered it into place. Now I'm just going through my lawn trimming stash and picking out a color that's going to work the best. I just went for a simple brown. I think this is hot cocoa. I just thought it worked the best for this design. And I just tied a bow on the right hand side. That has been one of my staple things with lots of my cards recently. I really love adding twine onto the sentiment. I feel it just finishes it off and also adds another texture onto the card. So this finishes up my pull tab slider card for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed. You can honestly do this with so many different designs of stamps. I think it's such a versatile die, and it's so minimal and doesn't really take a lot of steps, and also isn't too bulky or anything like that on your card, which I think is really nice because you can add it to just about any type of card. So thank you so much for stopping by today. All of the supplies I use will be listed over at the blog, and I will see you all next time. Thank you so much for stopping by today.